Hello. I hope that some of you might be interested in hearing one of my dad's original, there he is, Sophie Thompson, Magic Roundabout stories. But there is a bit of a catch. Trying to raise some money for the National Brain Appeal. It's raising money to support the incredible NHS staff at the National Hospital in London's Queen's Square. Excuse me referring to this. I haven't had to learn lines for quite some time now. So everything has to be written down. Anyway, I've done my hair like Dougal to get me into the part. And yeah, the catch is that they need your support. And they're awesome. And so you just have to go to the National Brain Appeals Just Giving page. Yeah. Anyway, you know, if you feel that that's appropriate. Now, this first story is called Dougal and the Missing Link. Dougal was in bed, thinking about not being in bed. To rise or not to rise, that is the question, he mused. Good morning, Gossamer, said Brian, arriving, as snails do, completely silently. I didn't hear you knock, said Dougal, icily. I never knock, said Brian, because I'm a welcome visitor. I've got news for you, said Dougal. You are about as welcome as a chalk ice to an Eskimo. But I have things to tell, said Brian. I am the bearer of tidings. I am the fleet-footed messenger of the garden. You are a noisy mollusk, said Dougal. But now you're here, I suppose I'd better know what it's all about. And while Dougal made himself a cup of tea, Brian told him the news. Zebedee hadn't been seen for some time. He wasn't answering his telephone or opening the door when it was knocked. If it was knocked, interrupted Dougal. Don't interrupt, old fruit gum, said Brian. And Zebedee wasn't collecting his milk and comics from the doorstep. So Florence sent me to get you, said Brian, because you would know exactly what to do, she said. Naturally, I know, said Dougal loftily. Come. And they went. Florence was waiting at Zebedee's house. I'm very worried, she said. I've knocked, but there's no answer, and no one's seen him anywhere else, so he must be here. Dougal considered the case. He's nowhere else, so he must be here, he said. He doesn't answer the door, so he can't be here, and he was not anywhere else, and he's not here. He must be... He took a short turn around a tree and back again. I'll have to start again, he said. He's nowhere else, so... Brian interrupted. Why don't we look inside, he said. He may have left a farewell note. There's no need to get dramatic, said Dougal. But there may be something in what you say. And he backed off several paces. What you doing, old thinker? Said Brian. I am going to rush at the door and break it down, said Dougal. Oh, I see, said Brian. Any objections? Said Dougal. Only one, said Brian. Name it, said Dougal. The door might not be locked, said Brian. Florence tried it. It wasn't. You could have done yourself an injury there, said Brian, going in. Inside, Zebedee's house was dark. Hello, called Florence. Anyone home? There was a little groan from the bed. Go away, said a voice. I'm not receiving today. Now, if someone groans and tells you to go away for some reason, you always go nearer. And Florence and Dougal... No, I didn't say that a bit right. Now, if someone groans and tells you to go away, for some reason you always go nearer. And Florence and Dougal and Brian did go nearer. Go away, said the voice again. And they went nearer still. Good gracious, said Florence. Good heavens, said Dougal. Fancy, said Brian. It was Zebedee. He was lying in bed with his hands over his face and looking very, very sad and quite odd. You look very sad, said Florence. And odd, said Dougal. Sad and odd, said Brian. I am sad because I look odd, said Zebedee, and I look odd because... Zebedee took his hands away from his face. Good gracious, said Florence. Good heavens, said Dougal. Fancy, said Brian. Zebedee had no moustache. That was a close shave, said Dougal, giggling. Hush, Dougal, said Florence, and she asked Zebedee what had happened. My moustache has been stolen, said Zebedee. Bare-faced robbery, said Dougal, giggling again. Will you hush, Dougal, said Florence, severely. Will you hush, Dougal, said Florence, severely. And with Dougal hushed, Zebedee told the story. It is not generally known, he said, that my moustache is a false one. Not only that, it is a magic one. If it gets into the wrong hands, disaster may befall us all. The situation is dire. Woe! Oh, woe! He's going on a bit, isn't he? Whispered Dougal. Just a whisker dramatic, perhaps, said Brian. But Florence realised the seriousness of the situation. We will find it, she cried. Don't worry. Come on, you two. They left Zebedee lying in bed making little groaning noises and went in search of the stolen moustache. We'll go in all directions and look for clues, said Florence, and then we'll meet back here at tea time. Now hurry and mind you find it. All right, bossy boots, said Dougal. We will do our best, said Brian. Dob, dob, dob. Dob, 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 said Dougal. What are you on about, you pathetic little clump? If you don't know, old scout, I'm not saying, said Brian, sniggering, and he sped away. Hurry, Dougal, said Florence, also speeding off. I am hurrying, said Dougal, and he sat down under a tree to think. Caw, caw, said a voice. What, said Dougal. What? Caw, caw, said the voice again. Dougal looked round and then up. Oh, on the topmost branch of the tree was a crow. Caw, caw, it said. You're making a lot of noise, said Dougal, and your moustache is slipping. He sat down again to think. The things you see, he mused. A crow with a moustache. A moustache! Dougal leapt to his feet and ran round the tree 8 times. Come down, you thief, he screeched. Crows don't have moustaches. You've stolen it. Come down. Caw, caw, said the roe. Caw. I'll count to 3, said Dougal, and then if you don't come down, I'll come up. The crow looked at him. Caw, it said. Dougal was furious. He looked at the crow and he looked at the tree. All right, my friend, he said grimly. You have raised the fighting spirit of the clan, Dougal. Be prepared to accept the consequences. And he started to climb. Now, dogs don't normally climb trees, but Dougal was no normal dog. He got one paw on a low branch and hauled himself up on the tree trunk until his back legs were about 2 inches off the ground. So far, so good, he thought. He got his other front paw over the branch, and with a shivering heave, he pulled himself up and stood on it. The important thing is not to look down, he thought. He looked down and nearly fell off. The height was fearsome. Steady, Dougal, he muttered. Steady. Be brave. Pretend you're a cat. What am I saying? He went on up. Not much like a cat, more like a dog trying to be a cat and not enjoying it very much. But he finally reached a branch just below where the crow was sitting. Got you, panted Dougal. Give in and we'll say no more about it. The crow looked at him. Caw, it said, and flew off. Dougal sat wobbling on a branch. I suppose it should have occurred to me that oh, sorry. I suppose it should have occurred to me that crow might fly away, he thought. I suppose I should have considered that possibility. I suppose I should have stopped to think. I suppose I'm stuck here now, forever now. And he gave a little wail. Florence and Brian arrived back. Dougal's not here yet, said Florence. I hope he's not lost himself. I expect he has, great shaggy thing, said Brian. I heard that, shouted Dougal. You wait. They looked up. Dougal, you're up a tree, said Florence. Do you know you're up a tree? Said Brian. Of course I know I'm up a tree, said Dougal. I'm not entirely well out of sense of direction. How did you get up a tree? Said Florence. Yes, how did you get up a tree? Said Brian. I flew, said Dougal sarcastically. Well, come down, said Florence, because we have something to show you. It's all very well saying come down, said Dougal, but it's easier said than done, you know. Skip lightly from branch to branch, shouted Brian. I'll skip lightly all over you when I get down, screeched Dougal. Florence and Brian consulted together. Perhaps shaking the tree a little might dislodge him, suggested Brian. Florence was doubtful. I don't think he wants to be dislodged, exactly, she said. More eased down. Will you two stop muttering and do something? Shouted Dougal. There's a nest up here and 2 birds in it are giving me very funny looks. Ow! They're offering me a worm. There was a long wailing cry and Dougal arrived on the ground beside Florence and Brian. Right, said Florence briskly. Now you're finished being a bird, perhaps we can get on. Typical, said Dougal. Typical. I risked life and limb, and that's all the thanks I get. We were supposed to be looking for Zebedee's moustache, not climbing trees, said Florence. Anyway, we found it. A crow gave it to us. Awfully nice crow, said Brian. He said caw a lot, though. I know the one, said Dougal heavily. An evil, beady creature. He spoke very highly of you, said Brian. They went back into Zebedee's house and gave him his moustache. I am pathetically grateful, he said as he put it on, and to prove it, I will provide delights. He muttered a few magic words, and a magnificent feast appeared. Tomato and cucumber sandwiches for Florence, lettuce and carrot sandwiches for Brian, a huge pot of tea with sugar for Dougal, and a large plate of buns for everybody, and they ate and ate. Tell me, old matey, said Brian, sitting back up, rather full. No, that was wrong. Tell me, old matey, said Brian, sitting back, rather full. Why were you up that tree? I would rather not discuss it, said Dougal. And pass me another bun. You've had 4, said Brian. So, who's counting? Said Dougal. And that's the end of Dougal and the Missing Link. And, yes, just to remind you, if you did enjoy the story, or even if you didn't, please would you be able to give something to the National Brain Appeal on their Just Giving page for the extraordinary NHS brilliant peeps who are doing wonders, performing wonders. Thank you from me